You're standing alone in an empty, shadowy basement. You feel cold, but your skin feels clammy as if you're sweating. Suddenly, you feel something brush against your back. You spin round and think you see something move, but there's nobody there. Is this the stuff of nightmares? Maybe. But when it happened to me, I was wide awake. What I'm going to tell you really happened. One summer a while ago, I got a job as an inventory clerk for a large company. The work involved going to various locations to count stock. A whole bunch of stuff from furniture to clothing, from groceries to medicines. On this particular day, the last stop was an old building where the company had a drugstore. When I arrived, I was asked to go down into the basement to help a coworker count the stock and mark up the quantities on the shelves. The basement was dimly lit and smelled a little musty, but I thought nothing of it. It didn't take long, though, before strange things started to happen. "My scanner stopped working," my coworker suddenly said. "That's odd. I better go back to the office and get a replacement." Moments later, she'd gone and I was left alone down there. At first, I thought it was no big deal. I'd done the job on my own in the past. I had my music to keep me company, so when my coworker had gone, I turned it up a notch or two. I was concentrating on a batch of cotton wool packs, checking them for damage, when I suddenly started to feel uncomfortable. You know, the sensation you get when you think someone is watching you. I quickly turned my head around to see who it was, but there was no one there. I said to myself, shrugging my shoulders. Maybe being down here alone is playing on my nerves. So I turned my music up another notch to take my mind off the uncomfortable feeling and get on with my work. Moments later, something really peculiar happened. Someone touched my back. It was a sensation as if someone walking across my path behind me had brushed up against my clothes. I immediately spun round, but only to find once again that there was nobody there. I was completely alone in that shadowy basement. "Okay, weird," I said aloud to myself. I turned off my music so I could hear any noises down there. It suddenly felt deafeningly quiet in that room. For the first time, I started to feel a little scared being all alone down there. But apart from me, the room was empty. I breathed deeply for a few moments to steady my nerves. My mind was starting to play tricks on me. That's all it was. I decided to concentrate on my work and turned around to continue what I was doing. But then, something else happened that sent a terrifying shiver down my spine. Suddenly, behind me from the far corner of the room, I heard a noise. Although it was faint, it was still clear enough to recognize what it was. It was the sound of a child laughing. My blood turned to ice. I slowly turned my head towards the source of the laughter. There was an old office swivel chair in the corner of the room where the sound had come from. The chair was empty. There was nobody there. But then, something so scary happened that I nearly died of fright. The chair in the corner of the room, the empty chair, slowly started to turn. At first it moved slowly, but then it turned faster, then faster again until it was spinning. "Oh, heck no!" I heard myself scream out as I watched the empty chair spin faster and faster. There was no way I was going to stay in that basement a moment longer. Before I knew it, I was out of my seat and heading for the stairs. But before I made it out of there, something even scarier than the spinning chair stopped me dead in my tracks. Standing at the top of the stairs blocking my exit was the dark, shadowy figure of a woman. A ghost. The shock hit me like ice passing through my body. and I was instantly frozen to the spot. I could not take my eyes off the apparition that was standing in front of me. Although my heart was racing and I felt so scared, my mind started to think logically. I needed to escape. I needed to get past that ghost and get out of here. But how? In that moment, I remembered how my mom had taught me to always be respectful to my elders. As if by magic, I suddenly knew exactly what I had to do. I started to feel calmer. I swallowed hard and spoke as politely as I could to the ghost. I worked as hard as I could to sound normal and to hide the trembling in my voice. "Excuse me," I said respectfully, making a small bow towards the ghost. "I'm very sorry if I seem impolite, but I really need to leave now." I stood there, waiting for a response, quietly shaking with fear. Would it work? Would I escape unharmed? Would the ghost let me go? Time stood still for what seemed like an eternity. The ghost did not move. Then, suddenly, the shadowy figure of the woman started to slowly drift aside. It was as if the ghost had accepted my apology and given me permission to go. The ghostly woman slowly moved away from the stairs, just far enough so I could leave. I walked as calmly as I could past the ghost, but as soon as I was off the stairs, I ran as fast as I could out of the building. In moments, I was outside standing on the pavement in the glorious early evening sunshine. My heart was pounding in my chest, but I felt exhilarated for having escaped unharmed. I was just starting to calm down when along came my coworker holding the new scanner. "What's the matter with you?" she asked me. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Before I had time to answer, our boss turned the corner and walked up to us. He had that look on his face that said, "Why aren't you two down in that basement doing your jobs?" I quickly told him what had just happened to me. "There is absolutely no way I'm going back down in that basement," I finally said as I ended my tale. It was then I noticed my boss and coworker exchange glances with each other. It was enough to make me suspect that they knew something about that basement, so I pressed them on it. What they told me sent another cold shiver down my spine. The old building I'd been working in had been erected over a graveyard. It was well known in the company that the basement was haunted with many ghosts, and the ones I'd seen had been seen many times before. They were known as the mother and her child. I was told that although the ghosts appeared quite often, they were benign and never did anyone any harm. I didn't go back into the building and down into that basement again that day. But I have been back to that drugstore many times since. Every time I go inside, I hear, or at least I think I hear, the faint sound of a child's voice laughing. It doesn't scare me now, quite the opposite. I sometimes wonder why this mother and child became ghosts, what happened to them when they were alive, and if they're okay. It may seem odd, but I learned a few valuable lessons that day. Firstly, if sometimes you're on your own but you keep feeling someone else is there, then maybe there is. Next, if you do sense or even see a ghost, don't panic. Be polite and respectful, even if it is a ghost. After all, you don't want it to follow you home and haunt you there, do you?